In this episode of SAT versus Karan, I'll be looking at section 10 of the writing section, and this is the continuation part of the series. So if you haven't watched this video and don't know what's happening, I suggest you to watch the previous videos. Now let's go ahead and move on to the number one. Mr. Li and his grandchildren practiced traditional Chinese calligraphy together so that the children would know would be knowing an art cherished by earlier generations of their family. And clearly, we know that would be knowing is something that does not make sense. So I can totally cancel A out. Will be knowing, no, because they are learning right now, and this cannot be in the future. So word to know, will know. Let's try this one out. So Mr. Li and his grandchildren practice traditional Chinese calligraphy together so that the children will know or cherish by earlier generation of their family. Now will is basically in the future tense. However, they're learning right now. They practiced, okay? They practiced beforehand. That means it's past, so they already know that. But since the sentence is happening in the past tense, we would know that if they would know an art cherished by earlier generation of their family. So here, answer choice B makes total sense due to the tense that's happening in the sentence. So be aware of the verb and the tense of the sentence. Now here the whole sentence is underlined, so there's something you have to do. Now positives, we have to take care of that. Being, there's a being in here, so that tells me that I'll look at it. It might be correct, but however, it has more chances for it to be wrong. And I'll look at it at the end. Same with here, being raised. Now, let's go ahead and look at C, D, and E first, rather than going to A, B. So this is how you can attack writing sections. Born in Peru and raised in Chile, who is it? Isabel Allende, the author of now resides in California. This makes sense to me because this is a modifier which modifies this word noun, and there is a positive here. Okay, so I can just cancel this out or make a mark around it. Isabel Allende now resides in California. The sentence makes perfect sense. So let's go ahead and look at D and E, why they're wrong. We know that A and B are wrong because they have being in there. Now we can say that since we have found the correct answer. Now let's go ahead and look at D. Although now in California, who is it? Isabel Allende was born in Peru and raised in Chile. She. Okay, so if this the author the writing section the author, the SAT writers are what they're trying to do is making this a positive. So let's see if this makes sense. Although now in California, she is the author of. So you're adding although, which is a contrasting word, and then you have no contrast in the sentence. That means that the sentence is wrong. E. Raised in Chile, comma, who is raised in Chile? And is raised in Chile? No, that doesn't make sense. Now, I know that there are positives here, but the rule should be the same for every one of them. So here the answer choice is C, and I would move on. Now, although women in some territory, okay, I can just cancel. Although women in some territory voted as early as blah blah blah. Now, since there is although, there must be a contrasting sentence. Now this is voted something, okay, in something, but then there would be something that can't be voted. So we can see suffrage for women throughout was not being established. Okay, we know that. Let's look at it later. Suffrage for women throughout the United States, which had not been, we already know that the sentence is in the past because the continuous sentence says 1920. So had not been just makes it redundant. So let's go ahead and look. I think B is not it, so I'm just going to cancel that. And let's go ahead and look at number C. Suffrage for women throughout the United States was not established until ratification of 19th Amendment. This sounds about right, so let's go ahead and look at D. Comma, it, kind of is an ambiguous pronoun. So here you have ambiguous pronoun error. So I would cancel that out. Although women in black territory voted as early as 1869, comma, throughout the United States, making this a positive. No, this breaking the rule. So I would say number answer choice C would make sense again. Let's go ahead and look at number 4. Number 4 is kind of peculiar sentence. So let's go ahead and look at it. Bees must leave the safety of the hive for forage for food many times a day, comma, they are risking being eaten. Now, here, they are risking does not make sense. Being eaten is something that does make sense here. So there's something going on. Being eaten, the bees are being eaten by something, by predators. But risking, why would you add the present tense in the here when the whole sentence is going? It's not matching up the flow. So I would cancel A out without any doubt. And just by looking at it, I can see that D and E has semicolon, and they are being eaten. Being eaten, they risk being eaten. That's something that's make it comma splice error, semicolon error, and things along those lines. Because why would you have likewise when you don't need it? So I would just cancel D and E off without even reading them. Now, again, answer choice C has the same error as A, um, disturbing the flow of the sentence by adding inga in this middle of the sentence. And like in my previous video, I already told you the tip why this is the wrong one. So I can safely cancel C out, and through the process of elimination, I can say B is the answer. However, I haven't checked it, so let's go ahead and look at it. Bees must leave the safety of hive to forage for food many times a day at the risk of being eaten, which is perfectly fine. Now let's go ahead and look at number 5. Number 5. It took the Museum of Modern Art in New York half a century of creative and persistent effort, and took half a century before their outstanding Picasso collection being acquired. You cannot, no, this is wrong. Being acquired is wrong. Persistent effort, and finally there should be a contrasting word such as but, something like that, or to acquire its outstanding Picasso collection, something along those lines. So, but there's one thing, but there shouldn't be any continual words such as and, therefore, or something along those lines. So I can say and see here, and finally. So this C and B and A does not make sense. So let's go ahead and look at D and E. There should be an answer between those two. It took the Museum of Modern Art in New York half a century of creative and persistent effort. But finally, you see the difference between D and E is that D is wordy, and number E is less wordy. However, it's concise enough to sum up whatever number D has. Now, there might be different errors according to different people and different perspective. However, the shorter the sentence, and if that short sentence has all the ideas in them, I would say that E is correct in this case. So I'll go with answer choice E. Number 6. An artist who explores Mexican culture themes, the art of Maria, is now re-owned. Okay, so the artist who blah blah blah. So who is the artist? The art does not make sense. So let's go ahead and look at B. To explore Mexican culture themes. Okay, who is exploring? The work of artist is now world renowned. This does make sense to me. So let's go ahead and look at number C. Artist Maria has now explored Mexican culture themes. Themes are the art of which, no, this is wrong. An artist who has explored Mexican cultural themes. Now who is the artist? The artist is Maria Ellen's art. So here we're talking about her art. not her. So this modifier error here. So with I can say that B is their answer, but Maria is a world-renowned artist whose art explored. The art does not explore Mexican culture. It's world. There are errors in this one as well, so I would go with answer choice B. Now, let's go ahead and look at number 7. The prevailing attitude in 17th century England was that schools and university prevailing attitude in 17th century, so past tense. So past tense, we know that, so I can cancel this one out, this one out, this one out. See, just by knowing that the sentence is past tense, I already cut down my chances to 50-50%. Schools and universities are to teach nothing that would discredit this, nothing that would should teach nothing that would, or to teach nothing that would. Now, C makes sense to me due to the noun schools and universities are used, so there should be a pronoun for that. So I would say that answer choice C makes sense much more than the answer choice A. During a conference with Pravika's parents, who is in the conference, the teacher mentioned that Pravika had demonstrated considerably, this is a parallelism error, in math and in foreign, something like that. Consider ability in math and in foreign languages. D makes sense, just like to learn math and to learn. So there's no parallelism here, so E is off. This is off. This is off. Wait, in and to does not make sense. So answer choice D is the right one. Let's go ahead and look at 9. Through the novels of Thomas reveals us both the pain and the beauty, and both the and the. So this makes sense. So there should be the a novelist thus revealing by the means of which to relate both the not only the pain now through the medium of his. The sentence should not change that as a novelist Thomas thus revealed. There's no need for that. So I can say safely that answer choice A is the answer. Okay, so let's see number 10. And this is the last one that we will be doing for this video, and the continuation of this next video we'll do 11, 12, 13 and 14 due to the time limit that YouTube has set, because many recipes require for one to cook without there having to be interruptions. It is a good idea to measure all ingredients in advance. Okay. So because this is a continuous sentence, not a contrasting sentence, there should be because over here. And because many recipes require that one cook without interruption, it is good idea. Okay, many recipes require that one cook without interruption, and it is no, so it doesn't make sense. So I was right, I canceled these out. Without there having to be no interruption, this just makes redundant, so I can say answer choice B is the right one. Usually if you have one or two sentences like this that conveys the same idea, I would preferably, if I have no time, let's say, I would preferably go with answer choice that's very concise. So what I used to do is, for example, if something is like this, if I'm stuck between A and C here, I would make a line like that and see how short number C is. So I would go with answer choice C. But of course, that's not an effective strategy. But if you're left down to let's two options that conveys the same idea, just a bit of wording here and there, then doing that can maximize your chance to get a correct answer. That's just a tip, and yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you like it.